Hey, everybody, welcome in. It's the offseason. Kansas City Chiefs are world champs. That doesn't mean we don't have a lot to talk about. So, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I am Matt Verderame. And as always, every week we have the mailbag. Usually it's on a Monday. Today it is Tuesday because we had President's Day on Monday. And so, everybody got a little time off to rest and to recharge. And hopefully you were one of those who got the day off. I know, my wife working in medicine doesn't get the day off. It's nonsense. It's crazy. But hopefully you all did. You guys know the drill here. If you have any questions, we can go over them. We'll hit everything. I'm sure we're going to talk some free agency, some draft, maybe some franchise tag stuff. As of course, we're in the throes of it now. The franchise tag window is open, so that makes it a little more interesting. I think for the Chiefs, it's pretty simple. I think Orlando Brown's getting tagged unless there's some kind of shocking revelation and they can find common ground on a long-term deal before them. But the strong possibility, I think we can all agree, is that Orlando Brown will be back with the Chiefs and he's going to be tagged. So we can roll from there. I think also, look, around the league, you're going to see some other franchise tags. Daniel Jones is going to get tagged by the Giants, again, barring a long-term deal prior. Lamar Jackson is going to get the franchise tag. I think we can all agree on that. Now, the question is going to be whether or not he gets an exclusive or non-exclusive. I think he has to get an exclusive unless the Ravens are willing to lose him for 2 picks, because I think they will lose him for 2 first-round picks if they give him the non-exclusive. All right. Let's roll with some of your questions here as everybody's starting to file in. Samuel, by the way, congrats, man. Your wife gave birth to your twins all in the week Chiefs won Super Bowl. Congratulations. I hope she and your kids are doing well. Evan, who would you like to see as a new QB coach? Also, what do you think Juju will ask for? So the QB coach thing, look, I don't know that I have like an opinion on like who would be the right guy to be the quarterback's coach. Whoever Mahomes wants is my answer to that question. As for Juju, I think his market is interesting. I was literally just talking to Carrington Harrison, who I did a spot for on 610, which will air later today. We recorded it a little bit ago. It depends. His market could be really high because he played on the Super Bowl champs. He's young, and the receiver market is atrocious. Like there's nobody who's a good free agent. So, with that in mind, he could benefit from a real bear market and get, 3-42. I could also see it being a thing where people go, yeah, but that's the Mahomes bump his year this year. And I don't know if I trust him to be that guy moving forward. And maybe he ends up signing for 2-20. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's like 3-36, but his market has a huge range of possibilities. So I'll say 3-36, I think is a reasonable number for Juju. With the first year fully guaranteed, the second year mostly guaranteed, and the third year being a team option. Spades, do we pursue Hopkins or would you rather have Keenan Allen if he's cut? So I've talked about this a lot. I think it depends with Hopkins. He's on a 2-year, $36 million deal. Anybody who trades for him, it's essentially 2 one-year contracts, okay? 2-36 for Hopkins in this climate is a ridiculous steal. Now, the question is, does he play on that? Or does he say anybody who trades for me has to renegotiate? If that's the case, I think the Chiefs are out immediately. They're not renegotiating with a 31-year-old receiver. I don't care how good he is. If they were going to do that, they would have just signed Tyreek Hill. I think Allen makes a ton of sense for the Chiefs, man. And people always say, well, he's so injury prone. He hasn't really been. Last year was the first year he's been hurt in years. He was hurt early in his career. He's been healthy for a while now. So I actually think Allen makes a ton of sense, man. If I had my druthers and it was either or, I might sign Keenan Allen. You're not giving up a draft pick. And frankly, in Reed's offense, I think he'd be ridiculous. You can move him inside, outside the whole thing. He would just be an outrageous player to have. But either one would be wide receiver 1 in the Chiefs in a heartbeat. Gerard, what's the highest you would trade up for a player the Chiefs need if you were Veach? I'm not looking at the chart right now. So I forgive me. So I'm going to kind of give a generality. Around 20. I don't think I'm going higher than that, man. Because then you start delving into, you got to give up like next year's first or something like that. I'm not doing that if I'm Veach. I'd move up into like 20, like they did for McDuffie. like they did for McDuffie. I would do that. I wouldn't start going higher than that. I think it starts to get to a point where you got a problem. Jesus, can the Chiefs trade CEH? All right. So I know this isn't vogue because A, he did not have a good year. B, he was not at the parade, which of course incenses a lot of people. I could care less one way or the other. I don't think it matters, but that's just me. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire has 2 years left in his rookie deal. His cap number is 2.9 and then 3.4. Okay. If they trade him, this per over the cap, they are. Let me just make sure with this. Let me just make sure I'm right with this. So I don't want to give you guys faulty information. I hate when people do that. I'm going to take the extra second. All right. So look, if they were to cut him, if they were just to cut him, they'd eat $2.6 million. They'd save about $865,000. If they trade him, they eat 1.35. They save 2.1. So obviously they prefer to trade him. I think if they can trade him, they will. I think they probably could. I think they could get a late round pick for him. I mean, hell, they traded Carlos Hyde a couple of years ago. Yeah, I think they could get like a 7th round pick for him. I don't think they're getting more than that. Maybe a 6th, but it's going to be a late pick. It's going to be a late day 3 pick. But if you're the Chiefs, you can save a couple $1 million. You know, it's not what you wanted when you drafted him, but sometimes you got to eat crow a little bit. Jonathan Irvin, I saw a mock draft with Lonnie Phelps out of KU going in the 2nd round. What do you think about him? Jonathan, I'm going to be straight up with you. I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you what position he plays. I am not like I like the draft and I get into the draft as it all goes on, but man, like I'm so consumed with the season and the NFL that like I could talk to you about most guys who are going to go in like the top 100 picks. Okay, and right now I couldn't even do that. Right now I can maybe talk to you about half those guys. As once we get closer to the draft, like I'll definitely get more familiar. And I'm going to the combine this week. Like for me, the Senior Bowl is kind of my intro to the draft, and then I really study the draft. Like once we get like to the combine. In fact, this week because I'm going to prepare for the combine. So if this was later in the week, I might have a better answer for you. I just don't right now, man. I don't want to lie to you and give you some stock answer. I don't know. Mo says, what free agent do you see coming to Casey? So I don't know that I see anybody. Like there's nobody who's just like that guy's the guy, right? But I'll give you a couple names I think are interesting. Mike McGlinchey at right tackle is a free agent from the Niners. If they don't bring back Andrew Wiley, McGlinchey's the best right tackle on the market. Maybe he's a name. I think safety. If they don't go with Juan Thornhill, they love their 3 safety sets. Would they try to go out and poach Jesse Bates from the Bengals or Jordan Poyer from the Bills? Would they try to poach Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles? The free agency class is awful, but it's really deep at safety. If there's one spot I could see the Chiefs maybe making a play, it's at safety. Now, I don't know if they'll do that. They might not. They might just say, look, let's bring back Thornhill or let's draft a kid. But that's the one spot that you look at and go, there's a lot of guys there. You know, and the Chiefs don't need that many guys. I mean, not only do they won the Super Bowl, but they have so many guys on rookie deals. I just don't think they're going to go out of their way to spend a ton of money. But safety is the one spot that would be interesting. Ronald, hey, Matt, what do you expect the Chiefs to try to bring in for a draft? So I think it depends on who they keep in free agency and who they let go, obviously. I think they could bring in a safety, like I just said. If they lose the right tackle in Wiley, maybe they look at McGlinchey there. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be crazy aggressive. I remember last year after they traded Tyreek Hill, part of the reasoning, to my understanding, was cap space. They're saving a ton of cap space, and their thought was, well, they could be really aggressive this offseason. But then they went out and they drafted a bunch of really good kids who won the Super Bowl. I think they might have changed the calculus a little bit. I think if you're the Chiefs, man, you focus on in-house guys. Willie Gay, Jerry Sneed, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, all got 1 year left on their contracts. I think those are the guys you're focused on right now. I think it's about keeping those guys and making sure they're taken care of. I think that matters a lot more than bringing in some second-level free agent. That's just my opinion. Okay, let's see. Luttrell, any insight into why the Chiefs kept giving EB 1 year deals? Was neither side interested in a longer deal? Not that it matters at this point. So here's my insight on this. I reported last year when EB was coming back to the Chiefs. If you follow me on Twitter, you might remember that's one of the few times I actually was annoyed that I wasn't given credit for it, and maybe childishly so, but it is what it is. But I was out front of that one. He's been working on one-year deals for a little while now. I think the big reason was he was hoping for a head coaching gig, and I think he also wanted to keep his options open, and the Chiefs were okay with that. The Chiefs were fine with that. I remember talking to people around the organization who said, look, we're going to give EB his time, and he knows the door's open. We're not going to just go out and replace him. And they kept their word on that. And he ended up coming back and doing a heck of a job and got another ring. I don't think it was anything like there was like distrust or discontent. I think he just wanted a head coaching job. And I think he wanted the ability to maybe go out and go to a different offense if he had to prove himself, which I think is, frankly, I think is bullshit that he's got to do it. But obviously he feels that way. That's why I went to Washington, and I wish him all the best. But I think it was really nothing more than that. I don't think it was anything like nefarious. I think it was really just he felt like he needed to do this, and he even felt like this last year, but the job just wasn't there for him. This year it was, and he took it. And I hope it works out well for him. UNME, do you think there's any merit to what Shady is saying about Eric Bieniemy? So people who don't know, LaShawn McCoy is basically saying he doesn't see him as a guy who is deserving of a head coaching job. I don't think there's any merit because Tyreek Hill and Jamal Charles have spent all morning on Twitter just making fun of LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy's got a lot of interesting opinions about the Chiefs, and I think a lot of it stems to the time he basically got benched in Kansas City. I don't know. To me, LaShawn McCoy says about Kansas City, I just don't care. You don't hear anybody of note saying that out of Kansas City. I'd put it that way, and he is not of note in Kansas City. Great player for a time, not with the Chiefs. Oregon. Matt, what positions does Veach have to hit a home run on in this draft, considering their late pick position? So I think, again, a lot of it depends on free agency. If we're talking about as the roster stands now, I got to tell you, there's not too many of them. I mean, maybe, first of all, I got to be honest, I don't think he has to hit a home run on any of them. I mean, maybe like edge rusher to tandem with Karlaftis, maybe receiver, maybe right tackle. I mean, I don't think you have to hit a home run at safety. You have Cook and Reed no matter what. So there's not a lot of needs, man. And like you say that a lot about teams that win a title. Carrington and I on the spot that's going to air on 610. We talked about this today, but like, man, it's not just because they won a championship. It's because of how well they've drafted. Like, there's just not like a lot of times a team wins a title and you're like, man, they got to replace this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy because they're all leaving, kind of like the Eagles are about to face. The Chiefs have 1 million guys with like 2 and 3 years left on rookie contracts. Like, there's just not a bunch of huge needs, which is great. Okay. Brian, with 11 or 12 picks, how many actual picks do you think the Chiefs make? 8. I think they'll be pretty aggressive with those picks. I'm seeing mock drafts that have the Chiefs taking the Texas running back. Is that pick a huge mistake at 31? So you're talking about Bijan Robinson. See, I told you I'm paying attention to that draft. There's just I'm like catching up as time goes on. So Bijan Robinson was ridiculous at Texas. He's 6 foot 215. Last year he had 1,580 yards, 18 touchdowns. Catch the ball a little bit, not a ton, but a little. I think it would be a mistake though for the Chiefs. They should not draft first round running back. They have Isaiah Pacheco. Like what? Like Robinson's a beast. First of all, I'll tell you right now, I don't think he's going to be at 31. When you talk to people in the league, I don't know he's going to be at 21. They have Isaiah Pacheco. If they draft the first round running back, I would be highly critical of them for doing that. That's just my 2 cents on it. All right, let me make sure I keep rolling here. Jesus, what in the offense with EB out will change? Nothing, because it's Andy Reid's offense. And that's not to be critical of Eric Bieniemy. It's just the truth. Like, nothing changed when they lost Nagy or Peterson either. Andy is going to run that offense. Now, Bieniemy does a great job installing it and helping to watch film and scouting for teams, and so they'll lose something there. But in terms of the way the offense will look, it'll look the same. Let's see. Michael Thomas base salary this year is like 1.5. Yeah, you're talking about the Saints, Michael Thomas, who here's the deal with Michael Thomas. I've seen this bandied around a little bit, not with the Chiefs, but in general. Michael Thomas this year, his cap hit is 13.3. His base salary is 1.1. You're right. Like if Kansas City was to acquire him, yes, it would be advantageous financially. Here's the problem. If the Saints trade him, they're eating $26.1 million in dead money. At least that's according to Over the Cap. So I don't think that's happening. Now maybe, to be fair, and I have to go look at this, Maybe it's something where there's a certain deadline that money triggers for him and they could actually trade him in the next, month. That's possible. I'd have to actually look at his like contract, but just quick math. I don't think the Chiefs go after him though, man. He's been hurt so much. I don't see that. But you never know. Off season, one thing happens and everything changes. I've learned that over the years. 1 of 4. How early do we draft an O-line that's good on the left side? That's a good question because I think they're going to tag Brown, then they're going to work toward an extension. But did they get it done? I don't know. Let's put it this way: I could see them like middle rounds taking a swing tackle, to compete with Niang and Kennard. I could see that, and maybe you just kind of go from there. Wouldn't be a bad idea. I could certainly see that. Josh, are we in for another year of Spags yanking Gay off the field every third down for a worse and slower linebacker? Or is there a chance he'll learn something in the Super Bowl playing him 90% of the snaps? God, I hope you learn something. And I say that is the Spags is collecting the third Super Bowl ring. Okay, I'm the dope here who's like, I hope you learn something. Meanwhile, like the guy just keeps winning Super Bowls. But what I mean is, yeah, I'd like to see Gay play more. Okay, I think they played like that because of who they were playing. They wanted to go bigger in that game. They wanted to keep him on the field. So we'll see. I am hesitant that they will play him that kind of snap usage the rest of the time he's in Kansas City. Joshua says CEH feels like he's more valuable on the roster as part of rotation. Yeah, I hear you. I don't think he's part of rotation anymore, man. If I'm the Chiefs, I just keep McKinnon and I just rotate him with Pacheco. Like, to me, that's the answer at this point. To me. Sam says lots of running backs in free agency. Made some good deals there on the cheap. Again, I would just bring McKinnon back. I really would. Like, I just have those two guys. And then, like, look, man, you want to bring in some, like, vet for a year that can eat up 5 carries a game, fine. But, like, to me, I'm good with just doing that. I really would. Like, I'd be fine. Man, that by the end of it, McKinnon and Pacheco, that is the best tandem at running back that she's had in a long time. Spades, did Thornhill prove this year that he's worth it to resign? I think on the Chiefs number, he's worth it. If I can get Thornhill, if I'm Veach for like $6 to $8 million, I'm involved. If it's more than that, I'm out. And I'll just draft a third safety and promote Cook. All right. Boris, hey, man. Thanks for joining us from Croatia. Really appreciate it. Let's see. 1 of 4. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Sam, I like the safety idea, especially a veteran there, support all the good young kids. Yeah, like I'm good with that. I think sometimes it's the little moves at this point for the Chiefs. Like, you're the Chiefs. Why make a huge splash move? Unless it's for a receiver, because they could use a number 1 receiver. But, like, other than that, like, are you really going out and going nuts? And by the way, guys, I'm telling you something right now. Seriously, after this little chat we're having, go check it out. Free agency this year is atrocious. I mean, it's so bad. Once you remove guys who are getting franchise tagged, like there's like maybe 6 guys worth signing a big contract. Okay. Mile High says, I went to the parade last week with my pops. Awesome experience. Good for you guys, man. Glad you had a good time. We seem to have a lot of young talent in the receiver room. Ross, Moore, Juju, MVS isn't young. He's relatively young. Do you see a big free agent coming and who? Look, again, for me, it would be Keenan Allen if he gets cut. And if it's not Keenan Allen, I'd make a call on Hopkins and see, A, if he's willing to play on his current deal. And if so, what does Arizona want as compensation? But yeah, like to me, I don't like Ross. I just don't put any stock into. The guy has been healthy for years. So to me, like you got Tony, you've got MVS, you got Moore, and then are they going to keep MVS? Are they going to bring back Juju? Are they going to bring back Watson, who I know a lot of you are like, oh God, not Watson. Well, he played a lot of snaps, man. Like they liked him. So keep that idea. Keep that idea in the back of your mind. Raphael, can we get a solid edge rusher? It's not going to be in free agency, man. I'll tell you that much. Maybe in the draft. Jesus says, I think the Chiefs should franchise Orlando Brown again. What do you think? Oh, I think they're going to, dude. That's coming. He's not. I'll tell you right now, next year, like they're going to tag him. The only way he's not playing for the Chiefs is if they trade him because they're not tagged. They're not, and I don't think they're going to trade him. I do not think that. 913 non-exclusive franchise tag. Herm Edwards a corner. Yeah. Bumpa, should the Chiefs get a true wide receiver one to make it easier on Kelsey as he gets older? It's a fascinating situation with them because you could argue it one of two ways. You could either say, look, don't need a number one receiver in the typical sense because look what they just did. And it's hard to argue that. You could also say, you know what? If they got a number one receiver, they'd be even more ridiculous and they would insure themselves in case, God forbid, Kelsey misses time or something like that. I think if you're the Chiefs, I'd take option 2. I'd try to go get number one receiver. I would. Now, within reason, I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't overpay. But if they can do it, I would do it. I would do it. Sam says, do we keep MVS and Juju? I think one for sure. MVS is signed. But you could move him. But I think one for sure. I think they will try to bring back Juju if they can't get Hopkins or Keenan Allen. If they get one of those guys, and I think I think Juju's gone. Bump it. Should we get Jalen Hyatt? I'm a big fan of his play style on KC. Yeah, Jalen Hyatt, I actually interviewed him at the Super Bowl. First of all, really super impressive kid, really nice guy. Secondly, and he was partnering with Hyatt Hotels, a smart kid. Yeah, I mean, he exploded at Tennessee this year. He was a guy who didn't do a whole hell of a lot his first couple of years. Like, if you really look at Jalen Hyatt's numbers, okay, he's fascinating because his first 2 years in Tennessee, these are the years. 20 catches, 276 yards, 21 catches, 226 yards. Right? You're like, who cares? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, Burger. Then all of a sudden, as a junior, 67 catches, 1,267 yards, and 15 touchdowns, playing with Herndon Hooker, who's a really interesting quarterback prospect out of Tennessee. He's rehabbing from an injury. But, man, Hyatt is a fast dude, man. He's not that big, but, man, he can fly. I'd be intrigued by him in KC. I'm with you on him. He'd be a real, like, if he's there at 31, man, and maybe you have to go up for him a little bit, man, he'd be interesting. He would be interesting. For the record, just to kind of give people a little bit of context, that's what I like to do here. So Daniel Jeremiah, who does a hell of a job, he's got a mock draft that came out this morning. And if you're curious about where the receivers are going, okay, if you're just like, okay, where are the receivers landing in this draft? The first receiver that Daniel Jeremiah has in his mock is Jordan Addison out of USC, number 12. Okay, he's got him going to Houston. Then you just keep rolling down. There's a tight end in there. Bijan Robinson, by the way, I was asked about earlier. He's at 19. Then you get into where the runner receiver starts a little bit here. Okay, Jackson Smith. I gotta learn how to pronounce this man's name. Jingba. I hope I pronounced it right, but I'm going to learn for the combine. Ohio State to Seattle at 20, and then Quentin Johnston out of TCU at 21 to the Chargers. All right. G's got Jalen Hyatt going 25. 25 to the Giants. And for the record, if you're curious, Zay Flowers out of Boston College at 29. Who's has the Chiefs taken? He has the Chiefs taking Nolan Smith, edge from the national champion Georgia Bulldogs, 31. And by the way, the Chiefs do pick 31, not 32, because the Dolphins were guilty of tampering. Okay. All right. Let's see. TC Riley, what do you think the odds are that Orlando Brown gets a deal or traded? Assume the major percentage is another franchise. I think it's more likely he gets an extension with the Chiefs and he gets traded. Because if you're the Chiefs, what are you doing? Like if you trade him, if they let him get the free agency, they're not going to. He would be the number one left tackle by a mile in free agency. So you're downgrading if you try to go out and replace him by signing somebody. Who are you replacing him with? A rookie left tackle? Okay, it's a huge risk. I just think for the Chiefs, I understand it's possible. I'm not denying it's possible, but I think you are running a major risk based on who is available to you. All right. Let's see. I'm going to try to get a few quick ones here. Katie, can you tell me how it works if the average person wants to attend the draft? Yeah, so I have not attended the draft as a fan ever. I've gone as a media member multiple times. I believe you've got to purchase tickets for the draft. I believe. Now, I know there was a time when it was first come, first serve, and you just showed up. I'd Google it. I'd try to find that out. I'm sure there's a way, because I think that's changed now that the draft is such a crazy event I'm gonna try to look it up for you right now. I think that's how, or I think you can buy tickets. Um, so I would Google and look that up. I know, yeah, so Visit KC has a whole thing here. Um, okay, so all 3 days of the NFL draft are free to attend. Okay, they're free to attend. So go to visitkc.com/draft. All right, and it'll give you all the information you need there. I don't want to steer you wrong. I have not tried to do that. I tried once at Radio City Music Hall like 20 years ago. visitkc.com/draft. All right. Oregon, do you think they should just give up on Kane, though, since Joe Cullen has had such great success bringing out the best in the DL guys? He had promised, but is a non-factor. Yeah, I don't think he's making an impact going forward. Love to be wrong. Don't think I'm wrong. Josh was just finding there Jet McKinnon and or Charkandrick Weston role. I'll tell you what, you know who the next McKinnon should be? McKinnon. Any news on Turk's healing progress? He seemed to really be hitting his stride under Cullen. No, I have not. And Wharton, he was having really, he was having a really nice year. But no, I have not heard. I'll check in on that, but I have not. I have not heard anything. Raphael says, I think all the first round picks should be O line or D line. Period. How about you? I think you could go with a receiver. Otherwise, I'm with you. TC Riley Leo seemed to take a major step for the Super Bowl. Any chance their base starts to look more like the Super Bowl and rotate Bolton back to middle and other packages? I think, let's put it this way. I think Chenal's going to see more and more of the field in year 2. He played really well down the stretch, and he played great in the Super Bowl. Leo Chenal was all over the place in that game. Their linebackers were phenomenal in the Super Bowl. Bolton led the way, but phenomenal. All right, let's see. Jess says, I'm okay with the $18 million tag for OBJ. With the Chiefs draft a tight end in the first round, they have to prepare for life after Kelsey. All right, so let's go one by one here because you have a few questions in here. Could they draft a tight end in the first round? I've seen some mocks where they do. Listen, you always have to think about life going forward, okay? You're a fool not to if you're an NFL general manager. Here's what I would say, though. So Travis Kelsey has shown no signs of slowing down. He signed for the next 3 years. Like, I think he's got some years in him, man. I don't think they're ready to start doing that yet. And by the way, they like Noah Gray quite a bit. So I think they actually feel like they've got some young answers here. They got him. They got Jody Fortune. I don't think they're going to draft the tight end early. Could be wrong. Maybe the board falls that way. That's just my assessment. John says, I completely disagree about paying Juju that much money. You got to understand, it's going to be like Tom Brady, plugging in players, and he didn't deserve that much money. He didn't do that great. He had almost 1,000 yards, man. Like, wasn't garbage. I agree with you that it's going to be a lot of plugging in players at that position with Mahomes, and I'm fine with that. $12 million is not a lot in today's game for a receiver, dude. It's not. That's like half a Christian Kirk almost. Like Juju had a year where he basically was a 1,000-yard guy. In today's day and age, $12 million, dude. That's not a lot of money. It's not. Josh, any chance you bring Papa Verderame to KC for the draft? You know what? I'm pretty sure he's literally retiring that weekend. So I doubt it. But he knows he has an open invitation. I also know he's going to listen to this in podcast form. So, old man, you want to come to the draft? Let's make it happen. Let's go. That's a way to bring it to retirement. Party time. All right, let's see. Any other big names cut other than Allen, or any other big name cut possibilities other than Keenan Allen? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, man. I'd have to go through every list and look. I mean, there are going to be guys who get released. It's the nature of this business. I'm trying to go off the top of my head. Here, I'll look it up real quick. I'll just give you a list of guys who might get cut. So Bleacher Report just put out like top potential NFL cap casualties. Okay, Alex K. This was a couple weeks ago. That he has Carr in here. Well, we know Carr's already gone. Corey Davis of the Jets. He's a guy who probably gets released. Russell Gage. Shaquille Griffin of the Jags. Definitely, I'd be shocked if he's not cut. And then he mentions Khalil Mack, who could be cut, although I think he or Allen, one of them. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be guys out there. But I don't think there's that many even like big name guys in that regard this year. It's not a good year for free agency. All right. Shane, who is your ideal backer for Mahomes? Is Baker a good fit? I don't think Baker's a good fit for one reason, man. I don't think Baker Mayfield has the personality to be a backup quarterback. I don't. I don't think you want to bring in a guy like that to be your backup. I think if you're the Chiefs, I think first of all, they might go with Bouchel, but if they want to go with a veteran guy, I mean, Chase Daniel's out there, which would be interesting. He knows the offense. He's old as dirt, but he knows the offense. If you want to go with one of like the more name backup guys, I think like a Teddy Bridgewater makes a lot of sense. I think a Gardner Minshew makes sense. I think those two guys would make a lot of sense. I'll give you another one. You ready for this one? This would be interesting. Trubisky. How about that? How about that? Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy reunited. And oh, does it feel so good? Now, you could say, well, is he going to be, is he going to be available? Is he all these things, right? Trubisky last year signed a 2-year deal. Here's the thing. Steelers could move on and save $8 million. And if I'm the Steelers, I'm moving on. I'm saving $8 million. He gets cut, man. I actually think he's really interesting as backup in Kansas City. I do. I think he'd actually be a good backup. I think he would be. And like Andy getting his hands on a number 2 overall pick at one point, that's the kind of guy that the Chiefs would sign to a 2-year contract. And if they had some meaningless game, they'd play him and he'd throw for like 320 yards because Andy would just showcase the hell out of him. And then they'd trade him. Kansas Hot Dogs, hilarious name. I would like to see a big body wide receiver, a go up and get it guy. I mean, Hopkins is your guy in that case, man. But I hear you. A bigger guy, a box out type guy. I like that. A Mike Williams type. Sure. Quentin, what's up, Matt? No question. I just always like saying what's up because, as you know, I really love your work and commentary, bro. Thanks, man. That means a lot. Really appreciate you. Ryan, what do you think about Hardman? Read anything into him responding on Twitter? I think he probably played his last down in Casey. Nothing because of Twitter. I just think it's probably time. Sam, Matt, how much influence do you think Mahomes has with the draft and free agency? Some, for sure. For sure, especially on the offensive side of things. Oh, I think they're getting his input. They should. They better. Absolutely. Jared's asking, Gerard. If a tight end like Kincaid or Meyer somehow drops down to the end of the first or in a range KC wants to trade in, should KC draft them if they believe the player is best available? Yeah, man, listen, if let's say Michael Mayer, who's out of Notre Dame, was a great young tight end prospect. There's a few. This is actually a pretty good class. I wrote way back like in December, this class has good depth. I don't know if you're going to get all the first round guys at tight ends. I think now you're gonna. I think Meyer, Kincaid, some people like Hargrove as a top pick. So I might have to eat my words a little bit on that one. I thought it would be more of like a day 2 class for tight ends. I think it's clearly a little better than I thought it was going to be. And look, you'll learn as you go with the Senior Bowl and stuff like that. Guys move up, guys move down. You start talking to people. It's important to talk to people for my job in the league because sometimes, and look, we're all guilty of this. As media, you start like talking to each other. And you're like, yeah, I think this guy's 2nd round pick. This guy's 3rd round pick. And then you talk to somebody in the league, and they're like, bro, he's a top 20 pick. Go, okay. Like we're all in the media for a reason. So I wrote that probably 2 months ago, dropped the ball. I think it's going to be a better class of tight end than I thought. Yeah, look, if somebody's there, let's say they have Meyer 16th on their board, and they're sitting at 31, and he's 7, 8 spots better than anybody else. Yeah, they could take him. But I don't think tight end is a need position for them at this point, even though Kelsey is going to be 34. Okay. Jess, would you draft Stetson Bennett in like round 5 to be a backup quarterback? No, because he's like 27 years old. I wouldn't. I'll tell you right now, it was interesting. Like there were some people who were not pleased in the league that he was not at Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl. That was something that I know from being down there. There was a little bit of talk about like why is he not here? That was a little bit of a concern, I guess you could say. Now, is it fair? Is it unfair? I don't know. But that was the thought. Okay. Jesus, will the Chiefs ever trade Kelsey? How many years do you think he has left in the tank? First of all, I don't think they'll trade him. No, I think he'd retire. I honestly God think he'd retire before he get traded. I don't know. I mean, this day and age, man, 3 to 4, like good years left. Maybe not like 1,300 years, but like 1,000, 3 to 4. Let's see. And then Spades. What's more important at the wide receiver position, speed or possession type of receiver? It seems the Chiefs have traded speed for slower players with solid hands. Is that a trend with the Chiefs? Now, I actually think so. I would agree with that assessment. I also think that that's more important for the Chiefs right now. They can scheme guys open to get yards after the catch. You want guys who run good routes and catch the ball with Mahomes because he's going to hit them. So I actually think you're right, and I think that's a good way of looking at it. Yamabiko, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thanks for super chat, dude. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. And New Punk Rants, also appreciate your super chat. Thank you, man. Do you think with how Mahomes' contract is, other Chiefs could go to restructure route to get more longevity, culture over money in a way? A couple guys, I mean, look, I can tell you right now, Kelsey, people in the league were not pleased that he signed that contract because it is very team friendly. And there are people who represent other tight ends, who are like, well, this hurts our leverage. And it does. Now, I think that's probably gone now because other guys have signed and it's kind of changed the deal. But yeah, man, you're gonna have a few guys who do that. Not most. Most guys want the money, and I don't blame them. They got a short shelf life in the NFL, but a couple guys, sure. Okay, Kansas. Can we talk about getting a player that can somewhat resemble Kelsey? Dude, good luck. He's probably the greatest tight end ever. Nobody's resembling Travis Kelsey. I don't think it's happening. I think when he's gone, he's a 101 man. Josh, as a history nut, how many All-Pro Super Bowl rings do you think Creed would need as a center to get into Canton? He's probably got to be a 6 or 7 first-team All-Pro. He was second team this year, which helps. That matters. Pro Bowler. He's probably as a center man. You're talking, I would say, at least like a half dozen All-Pro teams and like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 Pro Bowls. He's got the ring. A ring he's already got. I don't think he needs more than one. I don't even know if he needs one as a center, but he's got that covered. Yeah, I think you're probably talking 8, 9 Pro Bowls, 6-time All-Pro. That would do it. Okay, let's see. Jesus Spags is staying, right? Yes, he is. Alec, do you see the Chiefs moving up in the first round to get their guy? Yeah, it depends on the board, man. Depends on the board. They have the capital to do it. They could move up if they'd like to. Kansas with the linebackers we currently have. Do you see us transitioning to a 3-4 base? No. Not with Spags, man. He's 4-3. And look, teams don't play base anyway. But the Chiefs are a 4-3 base team. If you start going to 3-4, now you're just screwing up everything up front. Because Karlaftis isn't built to do that. Jones isn't built to do that. Clark isn't built to do that. I don't think they'll do that. Jess, I'm sorry. I think you asked me this earlier. I apologize. Would you draft Anton Harrison or Broderick Jones to play right tackle if they go that route? Those are two interesting names. If they don't bring back Wiley, I think you either look at McGlinchey in free agency or you look toward the draft. Yeah, but those guys are both interesting names for sure. I just think it kind of depends on how they go about it this offseason. All right, let's keep rolling. Clips. We're getting a true wide receiver 1. Don't think otherwise. Veach will finesse his way into getting Juju to leave on good terms, thinking he got over on Veach. Well, we're going to see. I think if there's one splash move the Chiefs have in them on offense, it's receiver. And if it's on defense, it's maybe signing a big name safety. In terms of free agency, I mean, you always talk about trade, stuff like that, but that would be my free agency thoughts. Post drafts could be where Veach makes a huge impact free agency acquisition. Well, there's always a couple guys who get cut. James Bradbury last year, post June 1 cut, goes to the Eagles. He plays at an all-pro level. There's always a couple guys, and the Chiefs were in on Bradbury. They were in on him, but Eagles ended up winning out. Will Vegas draft the quarterback? I think Vegas is going to go the veteran route. But if they don't get the veteran they want, like if they strike out on Rodgers, they strike out on Garoppolo, then yeah, sure, they're going to have to. Greg, we're giving up picks and moving up or down in one or more rounds. Oh yeah, listen, I think the Chiefs are going to trade up a few times. They're not using a dozen picks. John says Travis Kelce, Jamal Charles, Kareem Hunt were 3rd-round picks. Tyreek was a 5th. They'll be fine taking a running back later. Yeah, look, the Chiefs are going to draft the running backs. Going to be like in the 6th, 7th round. I mean, look at Pacheco. Okay. let's see. That would be classic Veach getting a BQB that was drafted ahead of Mahomes. You know what'd be funny is like it would be Veach, like the first round guys, right? Like that would be classic. A couple of you guys here we need DeAndre Hopkins. Sam asking what the cost is. I think for him, man, I mean, because the Chiefs are picking at the very end, I think you're probably talking a third round value, maybe. So maybe the Chiefs would have to give up like their late second, and maybe the Chiefs get Hopkins back in like a sixth or something. I would think something like that. I mean, it's not going to be a first, so it'd be like a day 2 pick. Could Matt Bushman at tight end be relevant this year? I don't think so. I think there's too many guys ahead of him. I did see McCoy's analysis of EB. I don't care. Look, no offense to LaShawn McCoy. Like what? I mean, he doesn't break down film. They just talked about how he was the one who found that whole thing with the motion in the Super Bowl. Come on. All right. Let's go. My guy, Stacy, rolling in. If you were Andy Reid, would you consider coaching staff improvements? Maybe Kingsbury, a quarterback coach, if you can't snag an OC job. Yeah, I mean, look, if Mahomes wants Kingsbury, go get Kingsbury. If that, to me, quarterback coach is Mahomes might as well be doing the interviews. Okay, like whoever he wants, I'm good. What is your take on the Broncos going after Rex, and what is your prediction on the Chargers offseason? I'm curious because the Chargers are in cap hell. So, all right, I'll be real quick with this one. I think Rex Ryan was a really good coordinator for a long time. Excuse me. Rex Ryan's MO, though, is he loves to just blitz like crazy. If he blitzes Herbert and Mahomes, he's going to be blitzed right out of the division. Like, it just doesn't work like that anymore. I mean, Rex Ryan hasn't been in the league in years, man. Things change big time in a couple of years in the NFL. I would be very worried if I'm Denver about that. He's going to send the house all the time on 3rd and 8. And like, that was great 15 years ago. You do that now against those quarterbacks in this division, I think it's a problem. The Chargers, look, I think they are going to cut Allen or Mack. I laid out the one Bleacher Report article that brought up Mack, and he's certainly a guy you could think about. Look, so quickly, Chargers cap situation, okay, if you're curious. As it sits right now, they're $20.5 million over next year's cap, okay? Now, if they were to cut Khalil Mack, they save $18.4 million. They eat $9 million in dead money. If they cut Keenan Allen, they eat $7 million in dead money. They save almost 15. All right. My feeling on it with Mack and Allen, who, by the way, are both signed through 2024. Okay. I believe for them, one of those guys is going out the door, because other than them, the only cuts who would really save them money that are reasonable are Michael Davis, their corner, get cut for $7.4 million. Matt Filer, who's a starting guard, who you'd cut for $6.5 million. You cut both those guys, you're still 7 over the cap. So I think you're going to have to look. You're going to cut one and probably maybe restructure the other one. I think if you got to pay Herbert here in the next year or two, like. I think if you're the Chargers, you're cutting one of them, man. And I think Allen makes more sense because you just traded a pick for Mack. Like, you just traded a second-round pick. But I think one of them's gone. And they're not going to be aggressive in free agency. They can't be. They don't have the money. They are all in at this point with who they've got. And they're going to start losing some guys. They better draft really well. At what point would I be okay with drafting Bijan, assuming a hypothetical slide? Bijan Robinson, that running back out of Texas, bro, not for a while. I mean, because of his talent, like, if you somehow got to like the late second or something, okay, fine, but he's not going to get there. They have Pacheco. They don't need him. I'm not trying to be obstinate. They don't need him. Warp, love the content. Keep it up. Also, what position is needed? I mean, again, receiver, tackle, DN, depending on what they do with Clark. How do the Chiefs prepare for the end of Kelsey's career? Do they try and hit another tight end or find a receiver weapon? Honestly, man, yeah, I think you're just trying to load up any position you can. But again, I think he's probably here for another 3-4 years. I wouldn't worry about it too much. How many GMs are on notice after Veach's draft class? I mean, look, I think Veach is like one Super Bowl away from probably going to the Hall of Fame. Like, he really is. I mean, if you go and look, there's not too many GMs in the Hall, but like he's approaching it, man. 3 of them. Not too many guys stand on that podium twice, let alone 3 times. Do you think Mahomes can lead a team of second and third team wide receivers? Not having a stud number one makes you nervous. I mean, bro, you just did it. You just did it. So yeah, I think he can do it. Yeah, for sure. He's ridiculous, man. He can do just about anything, I think. Rhino, who is your ideal draft pick and why? P.S. You're the man. Thanks for Super Bowl coverage. Thanks, dude. I don't have a specific name for you. I think whoever is best on the board at receiver, right tackle, if they lose Wiley, and D end. But if you're pinning me down to one name, I actually like the guy you mentioned earlier, Jalen Hyatt. I think he's really good out of Tennessee, man. You watch that kid. Kid's got big time speed, body control, all of it. I like him. He plays bigger than he is. Which of the rookies from this year will have the biggest second-year breakout? I'll go with Karlaftis, man. I think that kid's going to be a monster. I think I wouldn't be shocked this year if he has like 10 to 12 sacks. He's second half of the year, that light bulb went on. You could see it, dude. He was a force second half of the season. Will you see the XFL? Not much of it, man. I'd like to stay married. Let's see. Rhino, I think Patrick has 2 goals in his mind: go undefeated and go back-to-back. How realistic are these lofty goals? Back-to-back's much more realistic because going undefeated, man, one team in the NFL's history's done it. Pretty damn tough. All right, Alec, let's wrap it up with you, man. Alan Lazard to the Chiefs. You like to move at the right price. If they don't keep Juju, maybe. Lazard's a decent enough player. I just don't think it's like I don't think you're laying out any kind of real money for him. I think it would be a very similar deal to like what MVS got. I think that's probably where you're going with this one. Like Lazard is not a bad player, but I don't know that he's like a needle mover either for them. Last year he had 788 yards, which is by far his best season. He also had 100 targets. He got 100 targets at 788 yards. I don't know. He's 27 already. He's like, to me, he'd be a complimentary piece. Not a bad idea. Just a complimentary guy. Jesus, who has the best chance to make the conference championship? Bills or the Bengals? Bengals. They're better. They're the better team. And the Bills are going to start losing guys this offseason. All right. That's it. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Of course, sponsored by the Kansas City Beer Company. Dare to Beer Different. You can go there. You can check them out in Kansas City. And if you're around the KC area, you can get beer wherever. Actually, you can get KC beer wherever beer is sold. So go and check them out. They do an amazing job. The Arrowhead Lager, one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. Able to brew that in collaboration with KC Beer and the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It's awesome. They sold out of 6-packs twice. We're pretty happy about that. I like to think that beer is a big reason the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. All right. Oh, Raphael, what's my favorite KC beer? I gotta say the Arrowhead Lager, man. But if I'm going another way, I'll go with the Hefeweizen. I love that one. Love the pills. I'm more of like just a lighter colored beer guy. But man, they knock it out of the park, man. They really do. Even though they're sponsors, I genuinely wouldn't sell that if it wasn't. They have great beer. When we went out to KC, they treated us first class. Did it right, man. We were out there having some beers, sitting down at the table. It was wonderful. And they're great people too. You're supporting really good people, not just really good beer. I think that's extremely important. All right. Thanks, everybody. This has been the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I'll actually be back tomorrow with Adam Best. I'll be back Thursday with Patrick Allen. So there's a lot to get to. And if you didn't see Stack in the Box today, go check out Stack in the Box, which I do with Sterling Holmes every single week. It was on this afternoon. It's on the YouTube channel already. And also download it, subscribe to it. You want to hear more of me, if you'd like to torture yourself, Stack in the Box is the way to do it. All right. Thanks, everybody. And looking forward to chatting again here the rest of the week. Have a great Tuesday.